next speaker knows that women are not equal unless we have control over our reproductive lives. Please join me in welcoming the founder of Grandmothers for Reproductive Rights, my friend Judy Carl.
What an incredible crowd. I've been down low and now I can see it reaches far away. And it will take this world to a new place. Thank you for coming. Grandmothers for Reproductive Rights was started as a gathering of a few women who were angry about the restrictions being put on access to comprehensive sexual and reproductive health care. And we decided that we would turn that anger into an energy to make this world a better place as we best could. We did this because we remembered when. We remembered when girls were sent away mysteriously for 10 or 12 months. Nothing was said about why. We remember when women were dying of unsafe abortion. My brother was a doctor in training in the 50s, and he still today talks about an incident that happened in his hospital, the loss of two young mothers who, knowing they could not afford another child, went for an illegal and unsafe abortion. That came closer to home in 1972 when my husband, a professor, had a student come to him on Monday morning and say, "Dr. Carl, I have to tell you what happened. On Saturday night, my girlfriend bled to death in our bed because she had had an abortion. We cannot tolerate that." We do not want to see a comeback of the days when there used to be 3 wards in a hospital for women. 1 for OB, 1 for gynecology, and a 3rd for women who were suffering from unsafe septic abortions. A whole ward. No, we will not let that happen again. Can you believe that just 50 years ago, contraception was considered to be obscene in some states, and it was illegal for married couples to use it? That changed thanks to a Supreme Court decision. In 1972, 6 years later, finally, the use of contraception by unmarried couples became legal. So we will not go back. We will not go back to that time. But now we may wonder what to do. And you've heard wonderful invocations from the other speakers about how we are all part of this new process. There are going to be bills coming into our legislature presented this year, just as they have been at every legislative session. And they are going to be ones that will make it more difficult for women to have access not only to abortion, but also to family planning and other kinds of procedures for reproductive and sexual health care. One of those bills already we've learned is what is often called a heartbeat bill, banning abortion after 6 weeks, when you hardly know you're pregnant. There will be others as well. So here in Maine, we are lucky in that our districts and our legislators are small enough, close enough, that we can talk with them. Go and call them up and say, I need to have a cup of coffee with you, or a beer if that's appropriate. And tell them directly why it's unacceptable that we try to ban abortion and we try to restrict access to contraception and other forms of reproductive health. Our economy depends upon healthy families. Healthy families are much healthier when the mother is healthy and the children are healthy. So we all have a role to play in understanding that this is an economic issue and not just a little women's issue. So let's move forward. Everybody here is a GER because you are either a granddaughter or a grandson of someone. You wouldn't be here otherwise. So GER.
Thank you, Judy. So one more time, women of Maine, are we going back? No! Are we going back to the days when you couldn't get an abortion? No! Are we going back to the days when you didn't have the right to contraception? No! Are we going to let our bosses determine what kind of contraception we can have? No! Do we believe everybody needs contraception? Yes! They want it. Good job. Our next speaker is a water protector and a member of the Penobscot Nation. Please welcome June Sapiel.
Willie Buzzaway. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna tell you that right now. So be prepared. Woo! Water is life. Ironically, I went to print this last night and I ran out of ink. So here it is on my phone, and I'm gonna try to do the best I can with you. Willie Buzzaway, my name is June Sapiel, Burnewebskig. I'm from Penobscot Indian Nation. The first thing I would like to do is call for a moment of silence for our ancestors and all those that cannot be with us, for hope and peace, for strength and wisdom, for compassion, and most of all, for our generations to come. Kachiwiluini. I have a short amount of time to share my message with you, and I pray that Creator breathes His holy breath into your heart and minds, and that you receive it. I am Burnewebskig, or in your language, Penobscot. I am a mom of 3 amazing children and 1 awesome grandson. We are the people that come from where the rocks widen. We have been here since time immemorial, and Nibi, in your language, water, runs through our very veins. It is in our DNA. Nibi is our sacred medicine, It heals, grows, sustains, and comforts us. We use Nibi in ceremony and honor her daily. For many years, I and my people have been protecting Nibi. Our Nibi, what you all know, is the Penobscot River. What I and my tribe know is home. Last year, a call was sent out for water protectors to converge upon Standing Rock, to go stand in prayer and protection. Protection for the water in the sacred burial grounds of the Standing Rock Sioux. My sons and I heard the call, and I immediately began our journey to the sacred space. The Standing Rock Sioux, like all First Nations people, face broken treaties, broken promises, racism, and genocide on a daily basis. The call was sent for First Nations peoples and allies, anyone that would hear the call and go in a good way. Peaceful, prayerful people. Thousands upon thousands of people across the world heard the call. It was, after all, prophesied that this black snake, what you call oil, would come and wreak destruction upon our lands, and it has. And it continues every day. The black snake leaks into our mother, destroying her and her lifeblood, Nibi. Please hear this. There are 64 worldwide aquifers in this world that sustain us with drinking water. Of those 64 aquifers, 37 are substantially depleted. That leaves us with 27 aquifers to sustain 7.5 billion people on this planet. Of those aquifers, many are getting contaminated with pesticides, gasoline, and the ugly black snake. At this rate, this black snake is leaking. Our water will be scarce sooner rather than later. Add just another atrocity to the list of what people have done to our sacred Mother Earth. In our state, we have our own ongoing battles with our governor over our water rights and our right for sustenance and fishing rights. We own the islands, but no control over the waterways. Seems surreal, but it is our reality. There are untold numbers of tribes that are facing exploitation of their lands by big oil and corporate greed. The corporate greed that I speak of is Nestle. They're stealing our water by the millions. We are in a drought here in the state of Maine right now. We can't afford to sell our water to the lowest bidder. I went out to Standing Rock on 3 separate occasions, and I brought supplies out with me and stood with the people of Standing Rock. My children, my 2 boys, are still out at Standing Rock. One of my sons was arrested and numbered and put in a dog cage. He was shot in the hand and now will not have full use of his right hand because of that. But he still continues to stand for our water. As First Nations people, we understand the fear that you're all feeling. We have lived it, but we have survived. We're still here. We will continue to stand for Nibi, for our Mother Earth, and for our rights as Indigenous peoples. I am so humbled to be here with everyone right now, with all the separate messages that are being received, spoken, and seen. And I'm happy that I was able to be a part of this historic day. This is the longest I've ever spoken, so thank you. closing, I would like to share with you a quote from Mary Bradford. She's a Lakota Sioux. "The land is sacred. These words are at the core of your being. The land is our mother, the rivers our blood. Take our land away and we die. That is, the Indian in us dies." Kachiwa Luwini for your time.
Our final speaker this morning has been a lifelong activist on issues affecting women. A co-founder with Janet Mills and others of the Maine Women's Lobby, she has worked for decades to address domestic violence. Now she does it as a member of the Maine House of Representatives. Please welcome Representative Lois Reckitt.
Whoa, that's quite a crowd here. I'm glad to see that the sun came out from my sister from the Penobscot Nation. And I appreciate her letting it stay out for me to speak. All right, I'll speak louder. I don't know how we do it in both directions at once. A century ago, the National Women's Party went to Washington, D.C. to protest a government that would not recognize their human rights. Let me be clear that contrary to some beliefs, I was not there. It is, in my view, the same struggle that is going on today. At that time, women could not yet vote. Reporters treated them with condescension. The only difference is that today, the legitimate press treats us with respect. But the new government, led by he who shall remain nameless, he has yet to show us that they will treat us with respect and not, once again, with condescension. We demand respect. We demand control of our own bodies. We demand safety in our homes. We demand safety on the streets. And we demand safety on the job. We demand an end to harassment, to discrimination, to violence, and to rape. We believe most decent Mainers will support those rights as well. We refuse to return to the days of forced birthing, no compassionate welfare system, and no access to health care.
Not going back!
We will not be silenced. We will use our voices, our compassion, and our political skills to prevent the destruction of the legacy of our sisters, our mothers, and their mothers, and we ourselves fought so hard to secure. Women united will never be defeated. Women united will never be defeated.
Women united will never be defeated.
Women united will never be defeated.
Women united will never be defeated. Women united will never be defeated.
Thank you. In 1917, police were arresting women for protesting, and throwing them into workhouses. In 2017, we have a different set of punishments to fear. Women will feel the impact of upcoming policies, threats, along with many others, many of whom you've heard from today. Our lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered brothers and sisters, people with disabilities, immigrants and refugees, especially in the Muslim community, will suffer greatly as well. I thought long and hard about what I could possibly say as a white woman that would be authentic and come from my heart. Whatever I say must inspire all of you to be hopeful enough to continue working for women's progress. I do have hope still for a future where someday women will achieve equality. Unfortunately, I no longer believe I will live long enough to see that day come to pass. But I am totally committed to helping my generation to get closer and for your generation to get there. I came of age in the resurgence of the women's movement in the United States, high school in the early 60s, and graduating from Brandeis University in 1966. I marched in the streets for the passage of the Equal Rights Amendment, which would have put American women into the Constitution. I cried when it failed. I have been depressed of late, as many of you may have been since the recent presidential election of he who shall remain nameless. Voldemort, I thought about using that. But I have risen once again, and this month I began my new career as a member of Maine's House of Representatives. And better still, this week I introduced an amendment to the Maine Constitution to ensure equal rights for women. My lead co-sponsor, Eloise Vitelli, is also here today. We lost that battle in 1985 at the ballot box, but it's time for all of us here to rise again and demand equal rights. I truly believe we must have hope and confidence and hold each other up, sisters and brothers in this struggle. We must be the wind beneath each other's wings. Today, I send you forth with the following charge. We must celebrate women's accomplishments. We must support each other emotionally and financially. We must invest in the girls that will follow in our footsteps. We must run for office in even greater numbers. We must raise sons and grandsons who respect and value women as equals. And finally, we must support women who have the courage to step forward, stand up, and stick their necks out as leaders. And most of all, don't be quiet. Certain that I will live long enough to see a woman president of these United States. Unless Michelle Obama decides, after all, to run. But I promise you, I will spend the rest of my life working to lift the female half of the human race to full equality and the male half to full understanding. I ask you to join me on this journey.
This has been an amazing morning. It's been a joy and a privilege to be here with all of you. To come together from across the state to hear from moving, passionate, articulate women, to state our principles and to have a vision for a positive future. But you know, as I know, that ideas and rallies are not enough. Talk is not enough.
Talk's cheap.
This one day is not enough. We cannot be complacent. We cannot leave the job of building the future to someone else. The next step begins right here, right now. We must each choose the issue that we have passion for, find our partners to work with, roll up our sleeves, and continue the hard work of ensuring equality, liberty, and justice for all. I wish you could see this. I mean, this is just extraordinary. It means being vigilant. It means sharing information, speaking up, and showing up. There's an old political saying, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. We need to make sure that our elected representatives are hearing from us, or else we'll be on the menu. And no matter the issue that brought you here today, whether it's an issue of equal rights for all, of clean air, of clean water, of being able to access your reproductive rights, of ensure health care, immigration, whatever the issue you feel passionately about, there is one decision coming up that is going to touch it. In a matter of weeks, the president is going to nominate someone to fill the vacancy on the United States Supreme Court. Now, presidents serve a term of 4 years, and U.S. senators serve a term of 6 years. But federal judges serve a lifetime appointment. Lifetime appointment. So the next Supreme Court justice will shape what your life is like, what life is like for all of us, for every single one of us, and they will shape what life is like for our children and for our children's children. It's imperative that we see a justice confirmed who will uphold American constitutional values. Be ready. Be on your toes like you have never been. And be ready to let your two United States senators, Senator Angus King and Senator Susan Collins, know how you feel about the president's nominee to this critically important job. I assure you, it is life and death to someone. To help you plan your next steps, there are tables over here with organizations who would love to work with you on the issues that you care about and with information on how you can get involved. And there are going to be some additional performances taking place around the plaza. But first, we're going to close the program with a performance by the Portland Street Choir.